How you doing, everybody? This is Jesse, aka Drakbolt, creator and developer of Dune 2: The Golden Path, and today I have kind of a momentous occasion. This is the first ever successful 1v1v1 game that I know of having been played. Previously, up to now, it's always been a little bit unstable, so I've never recommended that people try to have more than two human players in a single game. But that has appeared to have changed around. I know that already a few games with multiple players have been played successfully, so I got to observe this one. I recorded it earlier, and I'm now recording audio for it. You can see that Sevain is the Atreides, the Raffi is Harkonnen, and Puxii, who has not played in a long time, is the Ordos. So settle in here. This is a long game. This is about half an hour, and it's an excellent game. A couple of things of interest happen. There's been a lot of talk about Fremen because in the most recent version changes, I changed the Fremen over to being regular infantry style units, and they're no longer like troopers, so they need to be used a little bit differently. There was a lot of discussion over that before this game started, so I expected them to be used, but I don't believe anyone actually does use Fremen in this game. Still turns out to be a very interesting game. Because it's so long, I don't know if I'll be filling absolutely every moment here I can with words. There may be times when I just kind of stay quiet for a little bit, I don't know, or maybe I'll chop it all up in the final video. We'll see how it goes. There may be more or less exciting times. This is definitely one of the longer games that I've casted all the way through, I think, which is great because that means that most of the crashing in the game has been solved. I've been putting most of my time and effort into that, into just perfecting the stability of the game, because introducing some new issues and some new features and everything in the last several versions has added new problems to existing problems, and things were getting a little bit crazy there for a while. So I'm taking my focus away from this project and starting to look at other things, other ways of both making money and also just doing some new and fun things. And now here you can see the new zoom mode in effect. I'll make a few comments on that from time to time. But I'm definitely going to be looking at other things now. I'm not going to be concentrating on this project quite so much. There won't be any major new features added. I'm really just going to work very closely on making it run well as it currently stands. So things are looking good so far. The current version 1.1.15 is so far having a very good reception. There are only very few problems with it that I know of so far. So anyway, we have everyone starting off. We talk a little bit about the game that's actually going on here. We have Sevain, who has wisely crept out into the middle of the board to avoid getting backdoored by mercs or anything. He is a little bit frustrated with the rock that he's chosen. He seems to think that he's not very good at choosing a nice piece of rock, so he doesn't have a lot of room to move around with. Over here on the left there, you just saw Puxii. He hasn't played in a long time, as I said, so I think he kind of forgot about the dangers of setting up right next to the edge of the board. So he started kind of slow and deployed right away to try and get an advance on other people, but I think he's kind of held himself back by doing so. So here's Sevain saying that he doesn't think he has any chance to win now, basically giving him free reign to do whatever he wants to try to win. So I think he's got plenty of space, though. It's interesting to note that some larger buildings can be built slightly further away than smaller buildings. The small amount of space, if you look at Sevain's base, the small amount of rock that's just above the left-hand side of the rock that he's set up on, that area I think could be reached if he placed a larger structure there. But I don't think, he may not necessarily know that, but it's a small matter anyway, because I do think he has enough space to get started. And you can see the Raffi doing his pretty typical 6 build, I guess if we're calling it now, if you want to go with StarCraft nomenclature or something. Anyway, he likes to go straight to 6 refineries, and even when he has low power situations, he likes being there and being able to get all of those harvesters out and started working. So you can see he's already got kind of a leg up on the competition. Poor Puxii over here, he's trying to get his his HTF and his carry-all out right away. He's always been a fan of doing that, but in this case, he seems to be slowing down a little bit. And Sevain is also, he's just kind of crawling ahead. He's not making a lot of progress at the moment. You can see the worms are starting to hit, and the Raffy will most likely take several losses to his carry-alls because of that. He has so many moving around right now during this first worm sign. So let's see how Sevain is doing. Sevain only has a few refineries up so far, and he's also getting some trouble from the worms, so he's getting a little bit held behind it. And poor Puxii is just not having a good game. He's losing harvesters. It looks like he didn't have quite enough money to get his carry-all, so I think he's just kind of stuck where he is. So, general overview of the game. If you were looking at the game as it stood right now, you'd have to say that the Raffy is well in the lead and is well poised with the kind of economy that he's built up to go into the mid-game with a lot of firepower. So we'll see what happens here. I did watch this game once before, but I'm going to try not to give away too much to the viewer. I don't know if you also hear the classic rock that I'm playing in the background, but it's a favorite set of music that I like. People are talking about nerfing worms and rocks and stuff. You know, the typical complaints about most games about something being imbalanced. But balance is pretty good in this game so far. I think, you know, once all the sides are considered, I think almost everyone agrees that balance is pretty good. It's really very good. The Fremen we're still feeling out because they just got changed. So we'll have to see quite how they work. You know, now that they're infantry instead of troopers, they do need to be used differently. They're cheaper, which definitely changes the dynamic of how they can be produced and used in the right situations. And it also means that they take more casualties in other situations. So they sort of work the same, but they don't. So they're going to be interesting. Everybody's just being silly. So Sevain here is starting to pop up a few more buildings, which I believe, you know, you can only assume would be refineries, since he does not have any light vehicle factories. He's not dropping heavy vehicle factories, so most likely he's throwing down a whole bunch more refineries to try and catch up on the macro end to get his economy back up and running. The Raffy is putting all of his money to use. He is pumping out some initial scout units and also has a high-tech factory with I believe at least one carry-all I've seen already. By the way, one bug that I did notice in this particular game, and I don't know why this is, but in this game when you zoom out, you can't see the carry-alls. You can't see flying units when it's zoomed out. And that's not intended, but there are some visual bugs when you're an observer in a large game like this. There are some things that just don't look quite